All eyes have been on Alaska when Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin met for an historic peace summit to end the war in Ukraine. President Trump said the meeting was extremely productive, but that the parties were not there yet on ending the war.
There were many, many points that we agreed on, most of them, I would say, a couple of big ones that we haven't quite gotten there, but we've made some headway. So there's no deal until there's a deal. I will call up NATO in a little while. I will call up the various people that I think are appropriate, and I'll, of course, call up President Zelensky and tell him about today's meeting.
And in fact, the Ukrainian President Zelensky has announced he will indeed fly to Washington tomorrow to meet Donald Trump after the pair spoke on the phone for 90 minutes. He's posted on X. President Trump informed about his meeting with the Russian leader and the main points of their discussion. It is important that America's strength has an impact on the development of the situation. We support President Trump's proposal for a trilateral meeting between Ukraine, the USA and Russia. On Monday, I will meet with Trump in Washington to discuss all of the details regarding ending the killing and the war. James.
So it's an interesting one, Danica, because a lot of people have said out of this that the real winner was Vladimir Putin, who was allowed to get away from this summit without really agreeing to much, and also some criticism of Trump holding this. I mean, look, this is going to be one of these things where it's a wait and see, and if it does lead to not a ceasefire but a permanent peace deal between Russia and Ukraine, then it's going to be about Donald Trump and his ability to get these things done. Obviously, there's a lot of people that just think whatever Donald Trump does is a bad idea, but he has been known to get deals done and to sit down with some very powerful and brutal leaders and sort them out. So, I mean, out of the weekend, Vladimir Putin would be feeling that, you know, he got his audience and was in front of the world stage, but ultimately, if it leads to a deal, it'll be a good thing.
Well, Trump knows the art of the deal, but this is a bigger one. This is a lot at stake. I just want to point out before we go to our next guest, I thought the theatre of this was absolutely fascinating. Yes. You had these American bombers, these US fighter jets flying over the tarmac as Putin and Trump were walking. I think we've got the vision of that in particular. And I just thought this was a Trump power play. He knew exactly what he was doing there. He was saying, you're on my turf, you're in my territory. The theatre was absolutely fascinating. But you're right, there isn't a deal just yet. But let's get some reaction to this. Joining us now is Nationals MP Barnaby Joyce. Barnaby, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. How confident are you, based on what we've seen yesterday, that peace will indeed be achieved here?
Not very, to be honest. I think that we hope for peace. Everybody wants peace. We want peace in the Ukraine. We want peace in Palestine. But just the nature of those who, the adversaries, Putin seems like an incredibly foxy type of character. The question remains, has he outfoxed President Trump? I hope not. For the sake of the people who are being murdered there, I hope not. And but at least I'll give it to Putin. He's gone over and met President Trump, and where they're trying to resolve it. It's a lot more than what Hamas is trying to do to try and stop the murder of people there, which for the war they started in Palestine, for the war Hamas started. But I think the big takeout for this for Australia is just how febrile the world is, how uncertain it is, and how we have to be so resilient. We have to become strong in ourselves. And we have to put aside stupid rules such as net zero and work on how we make our nation as strong as possible, as quickly as possible. Because I'd hate to see people negotiating about Australian territory the way they're negotiating about Ukrainian territory.
Well, Barnaby, on that, given how the world is looking at the moment, how concerned are you that our Prime Minister has not been able to have a meeting with President Trump when more than 20 countries have, including tiny African nations so far?
And it hasn't happened by accident, this one. This has happened by design. There is definitely a message in that for Australia, and it's a very bad one. We have to realise that we are way, way, way below par on our capacity to defend ourselves. We're incredibly reliant on the United States of America for the defence of Australia. And the fact that we have not been able to organise a meeting between the Prime Minister of Australia and the President of the United States is an incredibly dangerous thing. Because we're sort of really playing dice with life on this one. If it doesn't have to go totally pear-shaped, it just has to go badly, and it's incredibly bad for us. Remember that the big losers out of a United States-Australia relationship is Australia, not the United States. And some people are acting like, America's going to lose. No, they're not. We will lose.
Barnaby, let's just let me get your thoughts on the productivity summit that's coming up. What would you like to see come out of it? And given Labor's talking about lowering taxes, and we've heard some of the ideas about the 4-day work week, are you concerned this will achieve nothing? And if it was to achieve something, what would you like to see out of it?
Get rid of net zero. That'd be a huge productivity increase, wouldn't it? But that's not going to be discussed. It's already got politically correct manacles on it already, and you can almost tell what's going to happen at the end. Senior business people will turn up because they don't want to. They just want to. We've probably got these guys for quite a few years, so let's try and make sure we stay on the right side of them. There's also another roundtable going on with the Federal Reserve in the United States of America. Let's see if those two roundtables come up with the same ideas about how you get productivity going. I think Australians also have to realise that such things, like a 4-day working week, you're almost asking AI to come and take your job. You're almost appealing for them to say, you don't really need me in the office anymore. You can replace me with a computer. And this change is going to happen. If you're a person with a keyboard and a computer and that is your job, be very, very careful, because the world is a dynamic, changing place, and AI is not there to replace the loom or something like that, or a mechanical job. It's there to replace people. And it will, if you open the door up and say, well, actually, I don't need to go to work. Well, they'll say, yeah, you're right, you don't. You're over. It's finished.
Yeah, it's a scary world out there. Now, look, you mentioned net zero, Barnaby. Chris Bowen has heaped praise on China and India, the world's two biggest polluters, for their astounding take-up of renewables, he says, despite the fact both are actually building new coal power plants. But he's also written in The Australian those who argue that we should walk away from the Morrison and Joyce government's commitment to net zero, increasingly rely on the argument that Australia is only 1% of global emissions and the rest of the world isn't doing enough, so why should we bother? Andrew Hastie and Barnaby Joyce have been advancing a cartoonish version of this argument. Please, Barnaby, your response.
If there's ever a person who could become a cartoon, it's Chris Bowen. He's right on two things. We are about 1% or less of carbon emissions, and the world is not taking it up. The world's not taking it up. China is building renewable intermittents. God, stop calling them renewables, intermittents. And but they're also building vastly more coal-fired power plants, about one a week. And India's doing the same. And now they build a bit of renewables on the side, but you've got to remember, for their renewables, there's genuine renewables such as hydroelectricity. And the Three Gorges Dam is a great example of hydroelectricity. Now, maybe Mr. Bowen wants to dam a whole heap of rivers down the east coast. Maybe he does. And then you'll have genuine renewables. But what he's actually building in Australia is intermittents. And this crazy plan, which every time you look at it, it's like you think, this has obviously been dreamt up by merchant bankers. It's where incredibly wealthy people become even wealthier, and our power bill just goes through the roof, and our power system hits the deck. And who makes money? Well, follow the money. Follow who makes the money. Very well, domestic billionaires and overseas companies. It is an absolute scam, and the Australian people are catching on to it.